morning. I am Justin Alfond of Portland, President of the Maine State Senate.
And I'm Mark Eves from North Berwick, and I'm honored to serve as the Speaker of the Maine House.
Thank you for joining us today. Look behind us. You'll see many members of the Democratic 126th Legislature. Yesterday was our first day. Many have asked, what will be different? There are two things that we hope will be different. One, Democrats will be leading the way for lawmakers to be focused on strengthening our economy, putting people back to work, and growing our middle class. Over the course of the last year, we've heard from hundreds of thousands of Maine people, from community leaders, mayors, small business owners, chambers of commerce, and everyday Maine people. And that brings me to my second point. Maine people are clear. They want a new tone for this state, a tone of civility, a tone of getting things done. They don't need to worry about whether or not we are doing our job while they go off to do theirs. As Mainers, we have a lot to be proud of. We have a long tradition, one of Yankee ingenuity, a strong work ethic. We take pride in our work, in where we live, and who we are. Is there room for improvement? Of course. Together, we face some serious challenges. We cannot ignore that. We won't ignore that. But we do not have to disparage our workforce, our schools, denigrate our state, or put down the very qualities that make Maine special. We can improve, and we will. But the way we do so is not through admonishment, it's not through shaming, it's by doing. And so, today, Speaker Eves and I are here to tell you some of what we'll be doing this session. Too many Maine workers remain unemployed, underemployed, or feel insecure about their current job situation. In fact, 50,000 Mainers remain unemployed and even more underemployed, or lack the skills needed for better paying jobs in the future. According to a study by our community college system, 4,000 jobs between now and 2018 will remain unfilled because of the skills gap. Today, there is a 3-year waiting list for programs in nursing at our community colleges. That's unacceptable. Maine people want a plan, they want to focus, they want action, which will foster a better business environment, create jobs, and grow our economy. That is why our first order of business was creating the Joint Select Task Force, the Committee on Maine's Workforce and Economic Future. Let me be clear, this is not a committee that will produce a report. This is a committee that will do things that will jumpstart our economy today and create a long-term path towards economic strength, which will grow our middle class. Ingenuity and hard work are built into Maine people, but we need to give them the skills they need to compete. Maine's economy is changing, and we need to transform our labor force from our young students to those who are re-entering the workforce again, and to those who are on the job and need more training. And for those Mainers with advanced degrees or specialized knowledge, we want you to know that we will take specific action to attract the innovators and entrepreneurs to our state who want your skills and talent. They will come to Maine because this is where you are. Already, we are home to some of the best, like IDEX and Bigelow Labs. Today, Tilson Tech is searching for information technology talent. Tomorrow, Augusta's Kennebec Technology will be looking for workers to produce their complex machined parts. Our solution? Work with employees and employers to make sure workers have the skills that businesses need. We can simplify our training system and create solutions for businesses and workers alike that are more effective and efficient. We know that we need to invest in people, but we must also invest in places. Maine is different, and it is our job to promote it and you to the world. Our next focus is education, our students, the workforce of tomorrow, our future. We cannot plan for today without an eye toward the future. We all agree, regardless of which party you belong to, that we must put our students first. But what does that mean? It means making students and their education a priority. It means making the classroom the best learning environment it can be. How do we do that? We do that by supporting our teachers, providing our schools with the tools they need and the dollars needed to acquire these tools. It means continuing the effort started last year with innovative learning models like standards-based education, one where the student is at the center. As Democrats, we share the goals of our teachers to make Maine students number one. This session, Democrats will continue working with our education professionals on teacher effectiveness in the classroom. We need to ensure that we create a statewide model that looks at teacher performance fairly and consistently. By doing this, we strengthen our public schools, not dilute our schools or siphon money away from them. Our public schools, especially in the more rural areas of our state, are the community centers. We must continue to make them the best and most competitive they can be. We must also look at when education begins. We so often talk about K through 12. We now know learning and education begins much earlier than that. We as parents, teachers, and lawmakers are missing a drastic opportunity if we ignore this fact. The Maine Chamber, the Maine Development Foundation, and businesses across the state agree. Beyond being the right thing to do, early childhood education is an economic booster. The studies have been done, and now it's time for action. Early education investments today will ensure a strong workforce and economy into the future. This session, there will be specific action to move this forward. And with that, I'd like to introduce Speaker Eves, who will now tell you about our other two priorities. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. And as the President has said, we have a lot of work to do to rebuild our economy. But the Maine people are relying on us to roll up our sleeves and get the work done. We are committed to doing just that. There's too much at stake. We need to work together to get Maine people back to work and to rebuild our middle class. In addition to a strong focus on workforce training and strengthening our schools, we must work to put more money in the pockets of Maine families and small businesses so that they can spend it locally and help create jobs on Main streets. We can do this by working to lower our energy and healthcare costs. First, solving our state's energy challenges will require short-term and long-term solutions, like supporting energy efficiency now and diversifying our energy resources for the future. More than a decade ago, Republicans and Democrats began working together to set Maine on a path of energy independence. Maine's investment in energy efficiency and renewable energy has created more than 12,000 jobs in our state. Our investments in biomass helped the Verso paper mill upgrade its boilers, making the mill's future and the people that work there more secure. We must continue our good work together in this area and build off of our successes. Second, we must address the healthcare crisis in our state head on. We must fix the health insurance laws passed last session that allow insurance companies to hike rate on Maine people. 90% of small businesses in Maine experienced a rate increase due to the law. Some of the rates have nearly doubled. We have heard from countless business owners about the negative impact of the law. One example is Real Pizza, a well-known eatery and theater in Bar Harbor. Owner Lisa Burton saw her rates go up more than 95% since the passage of the law, and an expense she barely can be able to afford, even with a very high deductible. We know that this was not the intent of our Republican colleagues when they passed the law, and now we have an opportunity to work on some of our necessary fixes together. In addition to improving the health insurance law passed last session, we must provide long-term solutions that lower the cost of both public and private health care. The best way to lower costs is by better managing people's care, putting a greater emphasis on prevention and treatment of chronic illnesses. For example, we know that healthcare coverage for people with congestive heart failure can be very costly. Through better coordination and management of care, we can find ways to reduce trips to the emergency department or readmissions to hospitals. These efforts will not only improve health outcomes, but will also see a cost benefit. And the good news is that better care management for the highest cost individuals is the right thing to do, and at the same time, it will result in savings in the system. Finally, our plan to improve Maine's economy and grow our middle class calls for a strong investment in our future. An economic investment package to fix our crumbling roads and bridges and boost research and development at our universities and labs will create jobs now and in the future. A safe and strong transportation network is the foundation of a growing economy. Our small businesses rely on our roads and bridges to move their products across the state, and our working people depend on them to get to their jobs. Problems with roads can cause damage to our cars and block trucking routes. Yet report after report shows that Maine needs improvement to our roads and bridges. In fact, most recently, our roads were given a D by the American Society of Civil Engineers. Investing in our roads and bridges will fix a serious problem in our state while creating immediate construction jobs. While investing in our roads and bridges would create jobs in the near term, an investment in research and development would set us on a course for long-term growth driven by innovation and partnerships with the private sector. Every dollar that we spend as a state on research and development as an investment comes back to us in $12 of economic benefit to the state. Our targeted research and development investments in the past in boat building and marine research and development have established our state as an international industry leader. These are the jobs that will make our youth stay in Maine and bring more talented people to our state. If we want to build a better Maine, we must invest in our future. We have a lot of work to do, and there's no doubt. But we knew that when we signed up for the job. And it's what the people of Maine expect us to do. To get things done, we're going to need to work together. The challenges we face are too big for one party to solve alone. We need to come together in order to solve our problems. We must do better, and everyone pitches in, we can make Maine a better state. We want to work with Republicans in the legislature and the governor to move Maine forward. While we might not always agree, we will always seek common ground to ensure that we implement a plan to strengthen the economy and grow the middle class. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce the leaders in the Senate and the House. They will field some questions in the Senate. We have Senate Leader Goodall, and in the House we have House Leader Berry, and they will now field questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
You mentioned short-term improvements and short-term investments. Would any of those include fee increases or perhaps new taxes on existing systems they have currently? Are those off the table, or are we looking at tax increases?
Look, we have a lot of financial challenges in front of us right now. But first and foremost, we're going to make sure that we look at all opportunities to solve these problems in every side of the equation. And we're going to look at both at making wise decisions around programs that may need to be reduced, as well as looking at opportunities at revenue. But we have to go into this in an open-minded process, just as we have done in the past, and we hope that continues.
So new taxes aren't off the table.
Right now, we're looking at both sides of the equation. That's how the Appropriations Committee has done it in the past, and that's how it should do it going forward.
Any other questions?
When it comes to education, you guys have been kind of standoffish at being the Democrats in the past when it comes to things like charter schools and stuff like that. The MEA and the Democrats have opposed that. What specific sorts of education reforms are you guys talking about?
Well, with respect to charter schools, we certainly don't think that it's time to lift the cap on those. We do believe that we're well within the cap right now, and that the answer is not to divert money from our schools and our communities. We need to fund those more robustly. The governor has drawn attention to the debt that's owed to the hospitals. We also owe a much greater debt to our schools and our communities, if you look at that over the last several years. And we're very committed to fully funding the schools and our children's expectations. We have some priorities as well around professional development and helping teachers to do their job well. We look forward to working on those as well.
And we know that if we're going to have a strong economy in Maine, we need to have a strong, robust, world-class public education system, and that requires an investment in all of our schools, and we're focused on public education, so we want to make sure every kid has opportunity to succeed. And the fact of the matter is that we are concerned about charter schools and how that money can potentially leave communities, especially rural communities, because you heard the president talk about how those schools are critical to our economy, and we're going to be focused on that.
On the healthcare guys, to law or amend somehow and to lower healthcare rates, or just keep it going up?
We're not interested in going back and repealing work that was done on healthcare law in the last 2 years, but there are specific things that we hope we can work together with Republicans and with the governor on solving. The examples that were just given are obvious to most Mainers. It's unacceptable that rates continue to rise at the rate that they do for our small businesses and for our Maine citizens. Our commitment is to fixing that. One small example might be fixing the problem of rate review. Currently, as of this past last session, rate review has been done away with, and we feel that we need to look at that again and ask whether that's appropriate.
We just know that healthcare bill has had some real impacts on Mainers and small businesses. And we're up here fighting for them, and we want to make sure that we correct those pitfalls in that law, and we're going to be focused on it.
Senator Alfond, have you had a chance to actually sit down with the governor yet and talk to him? I know there was some issues kind of preventing that from happening. Have you guys actually spoken yet? Or?
We have not met, but every week leadership meets with his staff, and we make sure that we are working together on the budget and this Friday. So we look forward to coming to you all and saying we've met, we broke bread, and it's time to move on, but it has not happened yet.
Mr. President, are you prepared at this point to basically acknowledge that we may be looking at a second chair?
I'm not going to accept that. Every week I'm going to walk down to the governor's office and ask for a meeting, and I'm sure that one of those meetings at some point in time will be accepted.
Any questions?
Is it possible to achieve everything you want to achieve until a meeting like that happens? I mean, or are you guys just going to keep butting heads?
As you all know, there are three branches of government. We are working incredibly well with our Republican colleagues on the third floor. We need to put good ideas on the table. We need to listen to their good ideas and put great ideas in front of the governor. The governor will come into play every single day, but right now we need to make sure that we are solving our biggest problems in Maine, and right now that means we have to focus on the third floor.
When it comes to charter schools, we're going to look at it very closely. Yesterday we saw that not all the applications obviously were accepted, so we know this is a growing process. But right now we're focused on making sure that we grow our public schools, and we have a cap in law, we respect that, but our focus is going to be on growing our public schools and making sure that everyone gets an effective education. At this point, we don't see a reason why we should increase the cap. It hasn't even been reached yet.
That's certainly one way that we can increase research and development investments. It's clear that that's a way that we can move forward now to create jobs and also to build a competitive economy for Maine so we can compete on the global stage. bonds are not the only mechanism. We'll be looking at everything on the table.
But right now, we know that our R&D funding is significantly low for having a thriving and prosperous community and a state economy. We're at 1% of GDP. We should be at 3%, and we need to make progress on that.
Do you guys support paying back the hospital debt? I mean, obviously you guys are focused on education as well, but there is still a hospital debt out there. Is there a plan to repay that as well?
We absolutely support paying back the hospital debt. That's one of the priorities. There are many. I mentioned the example of schools and communities.
2 more questions, guys, and then we have to get to work, get to session.
You heard the president and the speaker earlier talk about making critical investments in our economy. Not all those investments actually come with dollars. As the president spoke about, it's also about education, making sure that our workforce is coordinated. But we know that we need to work and be part of the solution to making sure that people are getting back to work in the state of Maine, that we're rebuilding our infrastructure, and that makes it incumbent upon us to look at every aspect of the state budget. And we're going to make sure that we do that.
One more. Last call. Okay. All right. Thank you. We're good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.